In this video, you're going to learn everything you need to know about seventh chords. Get ready to unlock whole new levels of music. Hi, I'm Joe and welcome back to In Harmony. Understanding seventh chords will unlock a whole new world of music at your fingertips. If that sounds good to you, then keep watching. In this video, we're going to look at the 4 main seventh chords you'll likely come across, especially if you're into playing blues and jazz. Let's go! So let's get into what you need to know about seventh chords. We're going to kick off with the major seventh chord, and we're going to use G as our tonal center for this video. So this is G major 7, often abbreviated to this, or sometimes this. It's got a very soft sound, quite a dreamy sound, mystical sound. Which is interesting because if you take the root and the seventh together, yeah, there's quite a crunchy interval, but once you put in the third and the fifth underneath it, yeah, it's often used as either the 1 or 4 in a progression and can replace a major triad with a richer, more colourful sound. So if we had a sequence in a progression where we're going from, say, G that's G for C as major triads. If we make them major sevenths, you can hear the difference. It's built from a major triad with the natural seventh. Yeah, so if we take the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's the 7th note in the G major scale is our F sharp. And that's what gives us our major 7 chord. And so the formula for this chord is 1, 3, 5, 7. So 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, so our next seventh chord we're going to look at is this one. This is G dominant 7, or simply just G7, most often written like this. I think it sounds a little bit more solid than major 7. Even though major 7 has got that softer sound, it's got a little bit of, I don't know, kind of instability to it, but the G7 feels a bit more solid. It's got a very bluesy sound. Okay, it's got that flattened 7th now. So our G major 7 chord had the natural 7, but if we flatten the 7 to F in this case, that gives us our dominant 7th chord. Now the dominant 7th chord almost always functions as the 5 chord in a progression. So if we've got progression in C, and then G, yeah, so we were playing in C, so C, our 4 chord is F, 5 chord G. Yeah, that's what gives us our perfect cadence. 5 to 1. Now, that's because a dominant 7th contains what we call a tritone interval. which is these notes here. A tritone is an interval which is 3 tones apart. 1, 2, 3 tones. So that's the 3rd and the 7th. Yeah. And that tritone sound is quite crunchy, it's a little bit unstable, and it wants to resolve. Your ear is pulling it towards a resolution, and it does. Yeah, so G to C. Another way you likely to see dominant 7th chords is in a blues progression. Almost any time you will play a traditional blues progression, all the chords within the sequence are going to be 7th chords. So if we look at a blues progression in G, C7, D7, and one way we can look at building a dominant 7th chord is a major triad with a flat and 7th. And the formula for that is 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Now there's loads more I could say on the dominant 7th chord, but I'm going to leave it at that for this video, because we're going to move on to our next chord, which is the minor 7th chord. So this is G minor 7, often written like this, sometimes written like this. And I think it's got a softer sound than your standard kind of minor triad. That's G minor, that's G minor 7. It kind of softens the sound a little bit. Very smooth, very jazzy sound, very, very common in jazz music. You can use it to replace the minor triad with a softer, kind of jazzier chord. It can function as the 2, the 3, or the 6 in a progression. Okay, so let's say we've got a 1, 5, 6, 4 progression in G. So there's your 1, G, there's your 5, D major, there's your 6, E minor, and there's your 4, C major. Yeah, so if we replace that E minor with an E minor 7, we get this kind of sound. You can hear the difference, it's a kind of softer sound. And you can think of it as a minor triad with a flattened or natural 7th. So let's go back to our G minor 7. It's a G minor triad with a flattened 7th. And the formula for that is 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, so for our last chord today, we're going to be looking at a minor 7 flat 5, or half diminished. Okay, so this is G minor 7 flat 5. Yeah, it's also called a half diminished chord as well. Okay, and this chord is often written like this, or it can be written in another way. It's got that distinctive diminished sound, because here we've got that diminished triad, and then we've got the flat 7 at the end, so it contains that distinctive diminished sound, but I find it's less harsh, yeah? So that's G half diminished. If we look at a G fully diminished chord, now that sounds like a proper diminished chord, but in this case we've got the flat 7 as opposed to the double flat 7, which gives us our E. Now in terms of functions, the most common function you'll see for this chord is as a 2 in your minor 2-5-1 jazz progression. Yeah? Okay, so we're functioning as the 2 in a 2-5-1. So in this case, F minor. So a 2-5-1 in F minor would sound a bit like this. Yeah, which is a very, very common jazz progression. It's kind of a cadence as well in F minor 7. Yeah, is a G minor 7 flat 5. That's our C7 flat 9. Yeah, so that's a dominant 7th chord, where the 9th is flattened. So that's our 5 chord in that progression, goes to the 1 chord, which is F minor 7. There we are, so these 7th chords are coming up everywhere. Okay, a way that you can think of this chord, as we've already discussed, is a diminished triad. Almost said minor then. Diminished triad with a flattened 7th. Yeah, so that's it in G, C, and if you like to think of it in a more formulaic way, then the formula for this would be 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7. So 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7. Okay. So we've had a look at 7th chords, covering 4 of the most common. If you want to play blues or jazz, then these chords absolutely have to be in your vocabulary. But this is only the tip of the iceberg, so keep an eye out for future videos where we'll look at some less common 7th chords, as well as adding extensions such as 9ths, 11ths and 13ths, and covering how to actually voice these complex chords on the piano. So do you have anything to add? Let me know in the comments if you have any other recommendations or how following this tutorial works out for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and share it with all of your awesome musician friends. Remember, one way to help you work out 7th chords is using triads. If you need to know more about triads, you can check out this video right now.